What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today, this is my review of Sing Sing. And I apologize for my, I'm cold, my Unabomber-ish look with got the hood up, I'm in a hoodie with sunglasses. I realized, and I have a beard, so I realized like the optics here. But I also can't see them, so I'm less bothered by them. Um, so this is Sing Sing, and A24 presented it for my consideration, sadly without audio description. However, with a 30-minute Q&A, like, well, this Q&A is not the right word, but like I would say discussion, led by Andrew Garfield, and so yeah, they are trying to make Sing Sing happen. They are trying to send this back out into the world. Rumors are, this is the film that, if you watch any other movie channels, I'm sure somebody's lamented the fact that the original release was kind of just a whimper. Like, it didn't even go to a lot of major metropolitan areas. Like, it missed some. I think there are critics that live in major cities that were like, I didn't get Sing Sing. Like, what? I remember getting an email invite for screenings for Sing Sing, but they were in New York and LA, and I responded and I said, "Are there plans to do anywhere else?" Question mark. Dead silence. Because I was thinking, I was like, there are some other like really big cities that have their own, like Chicago. Yeah. I mean, there are other cities that are in major metropolitan areas. It's so weird. It's always New York and LA. Anyway, and it's not even like that's like I'm surprised it hasn't become New York, LA, and Atlanta. With all the filming that goes on in Atlanta, you would think that they would be targeting people who are in the area filming something. I bet they could get a lot of stuff knocked out by doing ATL screenings. Um, but anyway, that's just neither here nor there. But it's Coleman Domingo's Best Actor bid for this year, and arguably Clarence Macklin for supporting actor, although Paul Racy. See, this is why he needs a nomination. He missed out on Sound of Metal, and he's going to miss out on this. But I need him to be nominated so I can know how to pronounce his last name. Because everybody pronounces it differently. And I need John Travolta to interpret his name for me so that I know what to call him. Padel Razim. And it's an adapted screenplay. I believe Clarence actually has screenplay credit on this too. It's the story of Divine, played by Coleman Domingo, who believes he is innocent. He is innocent. I don't know. It's where the whole thing is just presented from his perspective. I mean, they're in jail the whole time, so it's not like we saw the crime that he did not commit and know he's innocent. There's not like a lead into this film where it's like, clearly an innocent man has been put behind. That's not really what the story is. It's just you get kind of a vibe from him that he's probably innocent. And he's exhausted sort of all of his appeals. Innocence Project has looked at his case and blah, blah, blah. And he just keeps trying to get clemency. But yeah, I don't know. But he's part of this theater troupe full of prisoners. And this is based on a thing that is real. And it actually happened, using some of the actors that actually participated in the program. And I believe this was actually shot in Sing Sing. So, either all or in part actually on location, which would be incredible. But it's very much a film for people who like sort of those like emotional independent films that sort of feel like they're small, but they're like a really nice story. Every once in a while we pick one of those and we throw it at the Oscars and like we get Coda, like, and it just happens. Arguably Moonlight was a really small film too, just like a really like contained story, very personal story. Then we get the big loud Oppenheimers and the strange movies, the Shapes of Waters and Everything Everywhere and Parasites, So it's always a mixed bag as to what wins in what year. But we did have a big movie last year, so seems like we're on track to have not another giant movie this year. So Sing Sing seems like a logical choice. It technically debuted at festivals last year, but they A24 bought it and then pushed it to this year because Coleman already was in the Best Actor race for Rustin, and they're smart enough to know not to double dip. Like he wasn't going to suddenly, compete against himself. So it was easier to just put him back to back so that way he can get potentially 2 back-to-back actor nominations. And I think he's really good here. The funny thing is I'm also watching The Madness at like the same time as this. He just dropped a limited series on Netflix. So I'm watching I'm making my way through that at the same time I checked out the Sing Sing screener. So I'm all about like Coleman and his dynamic acting abilities. I love him as an actor. I think he's fantastic. Um, and I would love to see him get nominated again. Even if it isn't my favorite actor performance of the year, this didn't top anything for me, but I totally get all the vibes in the world. And I think part of that is just the audio description needs to come in for me. I just need to be able to hear audio description with this that brings a lot of things into context. Yes, it is a lot of dialogue. Yes, they're reading a lot of Shakespeare. So, but there are plenty of moments where it does quiet down. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. And those moments, those are the ones that disconnect me, and why oftentimes when I'm presented a film without audio description, I always have that sort of like, well, this is my guess, Would I recommend this to a blind audience? No. I honestly, and I would say part of the problem is it took me a minute to try to figure out which one was Clarence Macklin because I'm not familiar with him as an actor. I just assumed he was the second largest role by the end of the film. I just assumed, like, once I was tracking the voice, I was like, okay, well, this person seems to have, I bet that's him. That's got to be him. That's got to be the role we're talking about. Like, as we're watching it, because a lot of times, what I would say to sighted people is, and I've said this in other reviews, you guys really underestimate the value, because I was there. I've been there. I was on the sighted side. The value of facial recognition in ensemble movies, especially ensemble movies where, like, going in, I only knew 2 of the actors. So I remembered Paul's voice because I'm a big fan of Sound of Metal. So I actually did pick his voice out of the lineup, even though he's not like a profound actor with like, it's not like hearing Al Pacino's voice where you're like, well, that's Al Pacino, or somebody doing an Al Pacino impersonation. One of 2 things. But no, I'm a big fan of Sound of Metal. That was, if I didn't call that my best picture of that year, it was like second best or something like that. It was like in my top 10 for sure. And he was a big part of that. So I became familiar with him through that. And I thought he was pretty good here. Now, do I understand why Clarence is getting, the funny thing is we get these like FYC things of like who to nominate in what category. Paul's name wasn't even listed as supporting actor. And I was like, damn. they have shown that it is all Clarence all the time. It's not one of those films that's like listing all of the potential supporting performances that you could possibly nominate. Nope, supporting actor Clarence Macklin. Cool. So, and he deserves it. I mean, it was a good performance. Again, I favorite performance of the year. I would love to watch it again with audio description. A24's app is one of those that runs subtitles but doesn't run audio description. I didn't have like an option. It was a little bit better designed than probably the worst one. The one that the only app that I've actually had to have a sighted person come in was Disney Debut, and that's sad. No, I was able to get into the A24 app, but yeah, there's some stuff in there that was tough to figure out and navigate and find out workarounds for. And but I'm glad I got to see the film, and I think the story is powerful. I love the song, Like a Bird. That immediately threw into my best original song list. I like the screenplay. I love the fact that it's based on this like real thing, this life. I would, um, unfortunately, one of the guilds that I vote for just has best screenplay, and not, we don't differentiate. That becomes really tough. When you're like, is it one of the 5 best screenplays? Oof. I haven't even fully let that wash over me yet. The combination of original and adapted. Because I often tend to lean towards originality in a screenplay. So that kind of list would look more like originals than it would adaptations anyway. But, um, the wow, I can't believe somebody thought of that type of thing. But I could see Clarence. I could see me voting for Clarence. I could see me voting for Coleman. I think they're both great performances. Um, but if the only thing that's keeping them really from being potential number one was the fact I didn't get audio description, so I don't fully have the concept of how good the performance is and those little nuances that I'm missing along the way. I think this film's going to get a Best Picture nomination. I'd be shocked if it didn't. I think SAG should nominate this for ensemble. Like, why would you not? Like, how do you look at this film and not nominate it for ensemble? It's just such a heartfelt story, and watching these characters work through their shit is, and it's it's the narrative. It could be seen as maybe too kind on the prison system or on people who are in prison, because we don't really get into the story of why everybody is there, who's in this group. I could see like people who really have a view on the American prison complex system having like a negative reaction to this, just like they'll have a negative reaction to like Amelia Perez. So for those reasons, but I don't know. I think most people will accept this for exactly as what it's supposed to be, which is a story of hope, a story of finding something to that really, I mean, getting into acting for a lot of people allows them to process their shit. And when you're in prison, you still have shit to process, and processing it in a healthy way through dialogue with the characters is one of the reasons why I really love Ghostlight this year. I think Ghostlight was really sort of the perfect marriage of taking just a random dude and being like, hey, have you tried? You seem to be going through some stuff. Have you tried acting? And that's why Ghostlight is like still my favorite film of this year. So seeing people who understand this concept of using acting to work through your shit is really cool, and I like that, and that's what I like about it. So Sing Sing is maybe not my number one. It's hard to tell because I need audio description, so my grade is going to be floating at the end of this. It's kind of like, I don't know. But right now, the only thing I would firmly commit myself to that I was able to understand without audio description is that original song. I thought Fly Like a Bird was, or Like a Bird is Fly? I don't know. Like a Bird, Fly Like a Bird, whatever it is. I thought that song was Fly Like a Bird. And I think Sing Sing is going to do well. And award season, if A24 can just figure out what to do with it, just keep sending it out. Oh my God, please. Just give it another release, send it out to the world, see what happens, and let people accept and find the story on their own. So if Sing Sing ever comes to you and you have the opportunity to see it, it has audio description, please do. As far as me, I'm going to lightly give it an A- because that's the floating degree I was talking about. I wouldn't recommend this to blind people, so I guess my real grade is technically unwatchable, as it is with almost literally every narrative feature I've ever watched. Without audio description, very few exceptions. But yeah, I would say A-. But because I don't see it going lower than a B plus. I don't see audio description bringing context that would make me go lower than a B plus for Sing Sing. But it also could be an A, but it also could be an A minus. Like, I don't want to stick firmly on A without having the context in some of these in the audio description tracks. So, but I really did love the movie, and I think it's a nice story, and I'm rooting for him, rooting for his chances. So, thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.